Hello Internet, it's Egg. I'm back in Factorio with the loud rumbling noise of the second rocket already being ready to launch. Should I just leave that on automatic? Well, I've still got some non-space science to go, and arguably, I probably shouldn't be overtaxing my base too much at the moment, because if we go and look up here, iron is still being quite a problem. Like, the number of trains I have is barely keeping up, or sometimes isn't even keeping up. So we need to work on that. So for this last episode, assuming it is going to be the last episode, which seems quite likely, we're really waiting for the bomb research to finish so I can mess around with them right at the end of the episode. But before that, what can I achieve in the probable 2 hours we'll have before that? Well, I think I mentioned at the end of the last episode we probably need to go down here and claim probably just all of these iron patches. That would be good. And potentially this copper patch as well. Probably don't need another coal one yet. We just generally need to get the flow of resources going a bit better. Also probably want to think about beaconing all the rest of my furnaces, because that will save some amount of resources as well. In fact, wait, how many modules do I have? Some, but not that many. Where's my car? Oh, there it is. How many modules are there in the factory, though? Because this has been not really making modules for a while. 4, yep. Well, that should theoretically calm down once I stop using so much stuff out of the base, but at the moment, since we're doing science, the base is using quite a lot of the circuits. So maybe we can't exactly do that much beaconing right now. Yeah, so there's that. We've got to get more resources, beacon some stuff up while we wait for this bomb research to finish, and then we can fire some of those off, and that will be a fitting end. I was also thinking about, because I built this artillery post to be basically a siding, where it just can branch off the main line anywhere, I was thinking that for the mines, like how I have it over here with this mine and this artillery post, it would probably be better if I could just make a blueprint that combines both into one. Because I did say I was going to make a version of this station blueprint that includes all the walls and turrets. But if I make a version of that blueprint that includes the walls, turrets, and a place for the artillery train to stop, and the flamethrowers, and all the Dragon's Teeth stuff, that would probably be even better, because then I can just have the artillery outposts at essentially the end of the lines, the furthest places out where I'm going to have mines anyway. And that will double up much better than having to make weird extra siding junctions. So maybe we should work on that blueprint first. Where even is that in here? That is just in here as the station, isn't it? That one. And I also wanted to just update this blueprint in general anyway. Let's go somewhere with a little bit more space. Ideally somewhere that isn't a bunch of cliffs. This will do, I guess. So we'll edit this blueprint to have the correctly coloured belts, and a full set of walls, and the better inserters, and then also update it to have a artillery station. We can probably branch the artillery station. Well, I was going to say we could put it on the output side, but we can't really, because we need a track to go through, so we might have to shift the upper station up another place to let another train go through, maybe. On the bottom one down. I need rails. And I'm also going to need flamethrower turrets. Am I carrying any laser turrets? No, they're probably in the car. Flamethrowers. Need a tank. Might need some pumps. Are there any rails in my car? There are. Yes, and the turrets. Okay. Turrets, rails. That's probably not enough rails. There might be enough rails. And I also might update this blueprint to use, like, steel boxes, because carrying around wood to make wood boxes all the time is dumb, especially because I'm now, by default, just carrying steel chests anyway. So I might as well do that. Upgrade planner. Well, no, hang on, actually, we've got to do the rail adjustment first. So we're thinking we're probably going to get rid of this station, or at least the loading part of that station, then edit the line a little bit, because we should, well, we can theoretically fit in one more rail if it's directly adjacent. Will that work? No, because you won't be able to unload the flamethrower ammo for the train. Maybe if we go straight in and then like kink upwards on the way out, that might work. What is the bottommost point we can have? Okay, so the bottommost point we can have the outbound rail isn't quite far enough either. Or I could maybe edit the artillery train to be bi-directional and just have it go into a dead end. That could potentially work. Where is the artillery train right now? It would mean I wouldn't be able to have that extra cargo storage that I was thinking about using for potentially regular gun turrets. Does that matter? I think I'd rather have it be a straight. So we might just have to make this train station like a little bit wider and longer to fit in the curves. So actually let's pretty much just pull this whole blueprint out and start over. All of that. Okay, so if we want, let's try and make this the minimum size this way. So what do we actually need for this to be functional? We need the two mineral loading stations on the outside and then the artillery one in the middle. The artillery line needs to have at least enough space to run pumps for the flamethrower, which means you need at least 3 tiles worth of gap, because you need to be able to put the pump and the pipe on it. So that means you need effectively double gap to that station and then single to the one at the top again. So let's set that up. Does that make sense? Or would I be better off putting the artillery train on the outbound rail on its own siding, but then just having a bypass rail, because then you wouldn't have to have the extra space up here. That would compact it a little bit. Because the artillery train is also shorter, so it should fit, I think. So we still want this. You're still going to need a bypass rail. So if we just assume that we're going to go Well, actually, if we do it right, we can have the artillery station be here. Maybe. Actually, wait, how large is the loading? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I do it like that, there's obviously better ways to do it, but... So you'd be looking at something like this, and then the rail would have to go down here, which is inconvenient because that doesn't line up with the S-bend. No, I guess going upwards more is the better idea. But maybe we adjust this so that the first of these stations is actually just a straight rail rather than curving up first. Because then that automatically makes the second one spaced to the correct distance, and then the third one up top. So let's get some signals in to show me where the trains are going to line up. Make the stations long enough. I don't have any stations on me, do I? Just make one. So that would be here. Okay, so something like that. Oh, wait, no, not quite, because you need one extra gap of straight rail there to be able to build walls, because you need to be able to leave the gap for gates. And the question is, do we leave the rail all the way out here, or do we curve it immediately back in? Probably leaving it out here will be better for like the dragon's teeth on the inner edge of the wall, potentially. Or maybe it'd be better to have the wall aligned to the end of the stations instead. That probably would actually be better. So instead of having the wall go there, you have the wall go here, and that also leaves you an extra gap for signalling, I suppose. Yeah, that probably makes sense. In fact, if I shift everything up one more square, I could even have the wall only encased where the trains go. But considering I've got to build turrets inside the wall, and next to this, probably it'd be better to just have the wall cut down through here, leaving enough room for all the belts, then the turrets. And then actually, I guess maybe I might even want this rail not to even curve back in immediately. Because if we're going to put walls, I'm not carrying any walls, am I? Let me just get some ghost walls. So if we're going to put walls like here, and bearing in mind we've probably got to have at least 6 gaps for belts, then you've got to have 2 gaps for turrets. Except it's more than 2 if you're going to put flamethrowers in there. Because the flamethrowers are 3 deep to start with, so you've got to have flamethrower and then gap and then laser turrets. So it's got to bring the wall down to at least like here. So what do we do about this? Because the other end of the wall theoretically has to go over here, which is a bit out of the way. Because you either do it like this and just have the wall cut back in, which would only just fit around the belts if you're coming in from the end. Or you adjust this outbound rail to have, you'd have to extend the inbound end of this blueprint to include a different layout. That's very awkward. Or you could just leave a hole in the wall, because that wouldn't necessarily be totally bad, but I'd rather not. Is it possible to curve this up and back if you do it in 2 steps? Not really. Yeah, I think maybe what we have to do is extend the rail blueprint so it extends across what would be another tile of straight rail out here. And then move this S-bended curve further up so that the rail just runs parallel to the wall for a little way before it comes up here where the wall would come down. Something more like that. Makes that blueprint a little bit bigger again, but that's probably best. Okay, well, anyway, I suppose we better get into another 2 hours of sped up footage again before I make this intro section too long. The bomb is about 3/4 done, so that will get finished, well, probably in about another 20 minutes, I guess. And then I'll get some made for when we come back at the end. And in the meantime, do whatever else I can to just generally make things more efficient and running better towards our 4 million more circuits we still have to make. Which is probably not going to be finished in another 2 hours. Alright, well, I'll see you in approximately 15 minutes in sped up time. And we're back. So yes, as I said, I finished making my blueprint for the artillery post and went and set a couple of them up, although this one doesn't actually have any trains going to it, just the artillery train at the moment. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably a better way to do that. I don't remember whether belts are fireproof, so that may prove a problem if my flamethrowers dump flame on top of them. I suspect that they aren't, so, you know, this may not be the best plan, but, you know, any aliens coming aggroed by the artillery coming in from this way should run into the mine turrets before they run into the flamethrower zone. So I got that done. Oh, and also you may have noticed, if you were paying close attention at the end of the first bit of recording, that once again I've made a blueprint for a 1-3 train instead of a 1-4 train, because that's still totally ingrained in me. I still just automatically do that. But yeah, fix that up. Apart from that, well, not much happened. I used Spidertron while I was down here cleaning out all the enemies and all everything else. There's been constant attacks up on this top corner, which I assume will be coming from these bases up around the edge of the lake, so I fired some artillery shots at a couple that I could see. There's also this one. And I'm starting to research artillery shell range now that I've actually got space science to be able to do that, and because I finished pretty much everything else. Just a few not very necessary researches, like even more turret damage, braking force, and follow robot count. Don't really need those, then it's just space science, so may as well use some of that. Has another rocket been made? Oh, it has. Okay. That'll be ready to go. And I've just been thinking about setting up, for real this time, actually setting up a second circuit factory. Probably using this same logistic zone. So it will just put out another 3 belts of copper. 2 of copper, 1 of iron, and then I guess 1 of coal as well. We'll have to go in there. And I was thinking I'd set up the rail down here so I could put another factory below, but I'm thinking I'll probably just have the logistics robots in this zone fill the belts, run them over here, go under the railway, and then just build a second circuit factory over here. The reason for that is because although it's a much smaller amount of space to work with, if I beacon everything up to the maximum, I should be able to fit in way more production in a much smaller zone. I've never really actually played a game to the point where I've fully beaconed everything. I've got to the point of sort of this amount of beaconing, where I've just put in like some beacons and some prod modules to sort of even out the production and speed. But I did the maths to make this blueprint, which should theoretically be a full belt of a full blue belt in and a full blue belt out, beaconed up to the maximum. So that should work. I think the arms will be able to keep up now that I've also got maximum inserter bonus, which I don't know what that actually is for regular inserters, so it is only 3 still. Yeah, they should be able to keep up, I think, even with the long inserters. But we'll have to try it and see. So in theory, if we need 2 belts of copper and 1 belt of iron, we'll only need 3 of these, and obviously you can share the middle rows of the beacons. So it would be something like this. Oh, my bots are actually going to do it. It's going to be something like that. And that will be the whole of the smelting, so instead of this full, like 9 lines of smelting, it'll only be 3, much more compact. And then obviously the oil, we can beacon that as well, although I'll have to redo an entirely different layout for that. And then beacon all the actual production. So in theory, I think we should be able to fit in the equivalent of, not even all of this though, of course, because again, this one's balanced to be able to output the circuits, whereas if I balance this new one, I'll balance it to only filter everything down into modules. So yeah, I think probably I might be able to fit that factory in over here with maybe just some minor amounts of landfill, perhaps. So let me just get rid of all this again. And the last thing to finish off this episode, and I guess probably the series, depending on whether I do a separate episode for completing the achievement or whether it's just tagged on to the end of this episode. I've built myself some bombs and a rocket launcher, so let's go out and blow something up. Probably these guys, because we may as well find a nice big bunch of them. Right, let me equip myself, because I was making sure I wasn't holding on to it while I was just walking around my base, because that's probably a safe idea. And now we have to try and see what the maximum range is again. It's been a long while since I last fired one of these. Closer than that. There it is. It's pretty much exactly the right size for that entire base. And it leaves a nice crater now as well. Neat. That you can actually see on the map. That's kind of cool. I guess it is actually a distinct tile type. It's not just a decal pasted on top. Let's go and fire another one. Luckily you still don't take radiation damage while standing in a giant crater. And also it's nice that the explosion range is slightly further away than you can stand. That's also helpful. So now, obviously, what you want to do is equip Spidertron with nukes. That's probably a real bad idea, considering how fast it fires rockets and how it just auto-targets everything. You're going to be causing some ridiculous amounts of explosions if you do that, I suspect. But still, you know, endgame levels of production, you may as well just waste all that uranium, because it's not like you don't have a ton of it. Okay, well, I guess that's a suitable ending to this video, more or less. So, depending on how this goes, how soon I finish up this game and how soon I finish up everything else, there may be a cut here to a later stage of this game. Ooh, making a recording. Get ready to mute this entire first 15-20 minutes of this recording, because this is not going to be relevant. This is all just leading up to the fingering Bing. And there it is. We finally made it to 20 million green circuits. And now I can be freed from the shackles of vanilla and never have to play vanilla again, probably. Unless I feel like it. So, I guess now it's been about 10 hours since the end of the last recording. So I can quickly do a very final sum up of what's been going on in the base. While I've been getting these last few million green circuits done. So the first thing I did was build a second Spidertron. This one's called Speedotron because it's just got a ton of exoskeleton legs on it, which makes it nice and quick as a replacement to the car. Because, I mean, it's probably not as fast as the car in like a straight line on certain types of terrain, but it can go over everything, which helps quite a lot. My train network has been gradually collapsing in on itself by being overloaded because I've started running so much more trains, because way over here I built the module making facility. Well, it only makes one type of module. And theoretically, because I actually did the maths this time, this should run at like maximum speed, but it doesn't, because I've clearly done some maths wrong somewhere. But still, it's pretty close to what it should theoretically be able to do. Because if we look at the furnaces, at least you can see that all of the iron ones do actually come on, which means it theoretically is using that whole belt of iron. Obviously the copper ones don't all come on because it's proportionally less copper. But yeah, so I made this to consume a bunch of green circuits, just making the prod modules, and then I didn't even really... I was already at like 19 million before I even got started on building this one. The one that would be doing speed modules. Is it still going? Not really. Oh, it's out of blue. Why is it out of blue? Oh, they're just still slow because I haven't got all the speed modules in it, because this factory's making the speed modules. And then obviously there theoretically would have been a third one over here where the rest of the belts go to do the green modules. But it was unnecessary. It turns out I didn't need that much more. And then if we go out and look at the map, you can see I didn't really even expand that much further. I went down here and built another copper mine between these three deposits, and I actually put trains going to this one. And I'm using both stations of that copper mine and that one of the iron, and then this little extra coal station down here to supply just this second circuit factory. Which would be more than enough to probably run both of them, and just this little tiny oil deposit as well is keeping up quite easily with all the production bonuses. And I'm making rocket fuel as well to supply the trains. And apart from that, I've been researching anything that uses space science, so my artillery range has gone up quite a lot. Got a lot of extra robot speed. I did have to build a second reactor, but that was pretty much just a copy and paste job because I'd already set up all the factories in the mall to just make all the components you need to just plop down another reactor as soon as it becomes a problem. So yeah, that about sums it up for this game. So now I can go back to my 2 or 3 different modded games I was playing at the same time as playing this. Well, not really. I was mainly concentrating on this one. But there definitely has been a couple of extra save files generated. So let's just very briefly save first. And look at how long that actually took. That took 56 hours. As you can see, I saved after every video, so we can go back and look at all the different bases as they were after every 3-hour session. And then up top here, you can see a couple of modded saves. So yes, with that we can put the end cards onto the screen one more time. We've got our Facebook, we've got our Twitter, to inform you mainly about when our podcast is posted on our website and various other places you can get podcasts. And this is our YouTube channel, where there probably won't be any more videos of Factorio for a while. But like and subscribe and comment and all the stuff that you do on YouTube, because there will be more videos. Most of them do include me in some capacity. And with that, I'm finally free of this one achievement, and my 100% Factorio is complete. Goodbye. Mic recording. Wave babies. What time is it? It's recording time. Oh, it's dinner time. Good, we'll get this done then. Food.